Hello and welcome to Nordnet. Today we are joined by John Box, CEO of Meltwater. Meltwater is a global leading provider of social and media intelligence. My name is Roger Berntsen. Before we move on, it's important for you to know that this session shall not be considered as investment advice. Our only goal today is to learn more about Meltwater, the company, and its underlying industry. So, John, you will now give us a presentation of Meltwater. Thereafter, we will wrap things up in a Q&A session, maybe for 10-15 minutes. So, please take it away.
Okay, well, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Very happy to get the opportunity today to talk to you all about the company Meltwater, which is listed on the Euronext growth market in Norway since December of last year, using the ticker symbol MWTR. My name is John Box. I'm the CEO for the company. I've been the CEO for about 9 months now, but I've actually been with Meltwater for over 15 years. So I've been with the company for quite some time. I started with Meltwater in the UK. That's where I'm originally from, but I'm talking to you today from New York City. That's where I've been based for just over 10 years now. For the 6 years prior to becoming the CEO of Meltwater, I was our executive director for Asia Pacific, so overseeing all of the company's operations across both Australia as well as Asia, and also led companies that we've acquired over the last few years in the world of social media, such as Sysomos, which was a company that we acquired out of Canada back in April of 2018. So in terms of the presentation today, I will talk a little bit about Meltwater's history and our background, the marketplace that we are in, our products and technology, our M&A strategy, and also current trading, just so everyone can see how 2021 has gone so far. So let's start with, of course, a quick legal disclaimer since we are publicly listed that I'm sure everyone is familiar with, and then move on to some key numbers and a bit about the company's background. As Roger mentioned before, today Meltwater is the global leader in media intelligence. So a good first question, of course, is what is media intelligence? Well, Meltwater provides a software which helps our customers find and analyze content which is important to them. That could be news articles, social media content, and that's typically about their brand or company, their key competitors, or anything that's really happening around their industry. So our technology mines this information across hundreds of millions of pieces of content on a daily basis and provides our customers with just what they need to know and really helps them to analyze their efforts as well. And we'll get back to who our customers are and what we do for them shortly. The company itself, it was founded in Oslo, Norway, back in 2001. So we've been around for just over 20 years. Today, we are headquartered out of San Francisco in the US, but we have a truly global footprint, employees, offices, and customers literally right the way across the world. We have approximately 27,000 clients globally today, just over 2,000 employees, and that number continues to grow. And our ARR, our annual recurring revenue, at the end of the second quarter this year was $414 million US. And the vast majority of that, of our revenue and contracts is subscription-based or recurring revenue. So since day one, Meltwater has been a SaaS company, typically entering into annual contracts with our customers who pay upfront for the service. So in terms of investment highlights to point out here, as said, today we are the global leader in our space, and we have an integrated platform that cuts across both news as well as social media. The total addressable market, it's very large. It's something that we estimate to be in excess of $40 billion US today. Meltwater also has a strong track record with mergers and acquisitions. In fact, since 2016, we've successfully acquired and integrated 8 companies into Meltwater. And so far this year in 2021, we've added 3 additional companies with Clear, Linkfluence, and Aula, and we'll speak more to those later. So we really want to leverage that experience with M&A and integrating companies to help consolidate what we consider to be quite a fragmented market, particularly when it comes to the social space. A key asset for Meltwater is our global reach and the sheer size of our sales organization. which today is over 900 people strong. And it's a fantastic distribution channel for acquired products and companies that we bring into Meltwater. Long term, we have targets of 20% organic growth and 20% EBITDA margins. So in terms of the customers that we work with, as I said, there's about 27,000 customers throughout the world today. And it really spans across verticals and industries, companies from Coca-Cola to Greenpeace. And we're very proud to work with the main players in most industries. And that includes the 10 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, as just one example that you see bottom left there. The way that we really see this is if a company or an organization needs to find and analyze online information, they can certainly be a customer of Meltwater. And I think this slide really helps to show that. And it also highlights there's a lot of opportunity for us today as a business with our actual customer base. Typically, when we are signing up a customer, they are signing up in one country or perhaps in just one department. So they're not necessarily global accounts. And that's the same with a lot of the customer examples that you see here. And it's really something that we aim to capitalize on moving forward, turning these customers from local to global accounts. And that will be a big part of our growth strategy moving forward as a company. So a bit more around the products and services that we offer to our clients. Meltwater really differentiates in the space by having this fully integrated platform for multiple use cases and spanning across public relations, communications, as well as marketing. Our clients subscribe to a core platform offering, and on top of that, they can add various modules. Each one of those modules offers new functionality to the customer, but also comes at an additional price point. So if you look at the left-hand side here, there's a few functionalities that we add for more of a traditional news or a PR standpoint. And on the right, you see some of the modules that we add for customers that are more social or marketing focused, perhaps. The two latest modules that have become part of the offering from Meltwater will be consumer insights, and that is thanks to the acquisition of Linkfluence that I mentioned before, as well as influencer marketing, which is a subset of social media marketing, and that's really fueled by the acquisition of Clear. And the consistent feedback we've had from the market for many years now is that our customers, they are looking for less vendors, less platforms, and perhaps most crucially, that single source of truth when it comes to analyzing data. And that's really what Meltwater can help to provide. And the competitors that we have in this space, they tend to be regional players who only provide perhaps one or two of the functions that you see on this slide. And that really gives Meltwater a key advantage. And it's at least partly why we're so competitive in the industry. So quite often when we are winning contracts, particularly the global ones, we're actually replacing multiple vendors across different geographies and leveraging the strengths of that integrated offering and the global footprint that Meltwater has. From a technology standpoint, I mean, every single day, we're actually collecting in excess of 750 million documents. And for us, a document could be a news article, it could be a clip from TV or radio, or it could be a tweet or any type of social media content. And at the same time as we're actually collecting that content, bringing it into a central repository, we're also enriching it. And if you think about the vast amounts of data that we collect and we have to analyze in real time, which is, really a demand of our customer base, this is where we can really leverage the investments that we've made as a company in data science and artificial intelligence. And that helps us to perform tasks such as applying sentiment, doing entity recognition, entity extraction, and also content categorization. And this in turn, it creates insights for our customers. And that's really in the form of the real-time analytics, which is explained on the right-hand side here. And perhaps just to give you an idea of the scale at which this technology works, every single day, we're conducting over 20 trillion searches for our customer base. So from a growth perspective, I mentioned before that we aim for 20% organic growth. Now, a lot of that will be really driven by continuing to sell new features to existing customers and expanding the contracts from regional to global. But there are also inorganic opportunities that we want to capitalize on, leveraging that experience that we have with M&A. And as said before, the social media space in particular, it's quite fragmented today. And there are a lot of companies out there with very strong products and technology, but lacking the scale to bring it to market effectively. And that's something that Meltwater is quite well positioned to do. So the investments that we've made into the back-end technology that we just went through there, that can be leveraged by companies that we acquire. And Linkfluence, Owler, and Clear, they will do just that moving forward. And they're the companies that we've acquired so far this year in 2021. We're really excited about the acquisitions. We believe they're all strong additions to our product suite. And if we look at them kind of one by one here, well, Linkfluence is a French-based company. They've been around for about 15 years, but they have a global presence today, very much like Meltwater. And if you look at their product, it also focuses on social media, but particularly around that use case of consumer insight. So it's leveraging social media to better understand, well, what do consumers think about products, companies, people, or really any subject matter of interest? They have a very strong customer base, and we know their products are a good addition to our current suite. And there are certainly customers in our current client base that could benefit from the technology and products that Linkfluence has today. And the market that they're in, it's really about market research. And that in itself is a $73 billion market opportunity today. And it's really prime for disruption from technology players, because historically, it's been done using a lot of manual labor and human services. So with social media and the real-time aspect of that, it's really prime for disruption. The company Clear, it's in the world of influencer marketing. That particular segment, it's in really strong growth over the last 5 years. We've actually known the team at Clear now for about 4 years or so. We've actually partnered with Clear, and we've resold a white labeled version of their platform. So from an alignment and an integration perspective, we're in a very good position to very quickly take this product to market and leverage that global sales force and customer base that Meltwater has. And then lastly, the most recent one is Owler. It's a company that some people may be familiar with out there. They have a very strong community with millions of active users. Many of those users sit in Fortune 500 companies today. And this acquisition, it can really help us to enter the sales intelligence space, which is really an adjacent use case, which represents a very large market opportunity for Meltwater. So just coming off the back of that, if we look at the market opportunity and the market that we're in today, as I said before, it's very large. We estimate that the total addressable market is in excess of $40 billion US. Meltwater as a company, we really started with the blue segments that you see on the left-hand side. And the TAM there is about $26 billion. This is the market that we really think about with media intelligence that we spoke about before. So the initial buyer for our products, they've typically sat, again, in public relations and communications. And then as our product has developed and evolved and we've added a lot of social media to that, we've really grown into the marketing department as well. But again, if you go back to the core of what it is that Meltwater offers, it's really about business critical information. And there are many departments outside of PR, comms, and marketing where we have traditionally focused that could actually benefit from those offerings. And here you see a few examples of that, like customer care and business development and sales. And that really opens up the market opportunities for Meltwater to grow into in future years. So if we take a look now at the current trading in our business, maybe important for people to understand that there are really two key strategic focus areas that we have as a company to really drive our growth, both in the short and the long term. And firstly, that is around premium customers. So we're focusing on the largest accounts and clients that we have, and those that perhaps have the potential to grow into be global accounts for Meltwater and subscribe to multiple offerings across multiple departments. And secondly, the second focus area that we really have is looking at the revenue which is generated from the social products that we bring to market. So as we started back in 2001, and really where our history is with more news and PR and traditional media. That's what customers originally bought from Meltwater. As we've added over the last few years, this functionality on the social side, And we now have additional capabilities there that customers can add to their subscription. So firstly, if we look at the premium customers, and just to perhaps help define that, at Meltwater, we consider a premium customer to be those that spend $25,000 US or more per year with Meltwater. And the ARR, which is coming from such customers, well, that reached 193 million at the end of the second quarter and was a 30% increase on the second quarter of 2020. So that portion of our business, that 193 million in ARR, it now accounts for 47% of our overall ARR and continues to grow at a good pace. And we have ambitions to turn that 47% into 60 to 70% of our ARR in the coming years. And in terms of why we really focus on premium customers, well, the LTV to CAC ratios, they're very strong with these clients. The net retention rates, they're also very good. So we have low churn. And particularly with the higher price point here, not only do we see good retention of the customers, but there's naturally a lot more room to grow and expand those customers and increase share of wallet by adding those new modules, growing internationally, and growing into new departments with our solutions. So if you look at the good economic returns with premium, plus the fact that they're our most sticky customers, that's why we really continue to focus on the premium segment. And secondly, that second key area that I mentioned before, it's social ARR. This grew 50% in the second quarter, now stands at 153 million, which is 37% of our total ARR. Now, social products, they're either sold as part of an integrated solution to new customers. So very often when a new client signs up to Meltwater, they're buying the combination of news and social in the one integrated platform. But social can also be sold as an upgrade to our existing customer base if they don't subscribe to those modules currently. And that's to both the premium as well as the non-premium accounts that we have. Now, the fact that we provide the integrated solution for news and PR and across social, it's a key reason as to why customers opt for the Meltwater software. And it's obviously helping to drive the social revenue that we have as well, because that's a key component of that integrated offering. And if you look at the opportunity in social or the social market, it's growing at a very good pace. And this will continue to help us to drive overall growth in the company, again, both for the short and for the long term. So total ARR for Meltwater exiting Q2 2021 this year was 414 million USD as said, and this represented 8% organic growth year over year and 14% including the acquisitions that we have done. And you can see on the graph here that so far in 2021, our growth has started to accelerate. And this is really driven by the success that we see in the two key focus areas that we just covered, as well as really an improvement in the retention rates across all segments of our business as a company. So our net retention rates have continued to improve over many quarters now, and particularly in 2021. And lastly here, just before we kind of move on to the Q&A section, just a little bit about the outlook for the rest of this year and beyond. So at the end of the first quarter this year, we actually raised our top line guidance and expect to hit 390 to 400 million in revenue. This will include pro forma contributions from our acquisitions, but we really anticipate the growth to accelerate in the second half of this year as we continue to ramp up investments into sales and marketing. Now, a lot of that has been done at the back end of last year and beginning of 2021, and we expect the payoff from that in the second half of this year. Revenue for the first quarter was reported at 94 million US dollars. And to be clear, that is entirely organic, the 94 million in the first quarter. We will provide our second quarter numbers to the market on the 30th of September. We're increasing our investment into both sales and marketing as well as R&D. We believe the time is certainly right for such investments with the traction that we see in our current trading, as well as the fact that we've just executed on these acquisitions and want to make sure that they're well integrated into the Meltwater solution, hence the investments into R&D. Now, from a long-term perspective, our ambition is unchanged at 20% on both the top and the bottom line. When it comes to M&A, as mentioned before, we've done a few acquisitions already this year, but we're still in conversations with companies. We believe that the environment out there is still target rich, and there are opportunities to be had for Meltwater to acquire companies in our space, and therefore we maintain ongoing conversations in that area. And perhaps a final point that it's good for people to note, the company is preparing for the main list on Oslo Børs. We're currently actually in the process of converting our accounting from US GAAP, which is what we've used historically, to IFRS. And upon completion really of that process, and with all the necessary approvals required from the stock exchange, we aim to complete that uplisting in the fourth quarter of this year. So with that, Roger, just want to thank you once again for getting the opportunity to present today on the company Meltwater, and happy to open up to any questions that you might have.
Yeah, thanks, John. Let's move directly into the Q&A session. I will touch upon the fact that you are a global leading provider of media intelligence. Also, given the fact you are a global company, you're still a relatively small one with a market cap of roughly 12 billion Norwegian kroner. Can you give us, you've been around for 20 years.
Yeah.
You as well know the company inside out. So can you give us some insights into the history of Meltwater? What was your market position back then compared to today, for example?
Yeah, it's obviously been a journey from where we started 20 years ago to where we are today. One that's been driven by, changes in the industry, things that are demanded by customers, but particularly the rise of social media and how that's really impacting on everyone's lives, but of course with business. And although some things have changed a lot over that time period, some things have also stayed the same. So when the company started, the vision from a product perspective of our founder, it was very, very simple. What we wanted to achieve is that when an executive arrives at work in the morning and they've got their cup of coffee in hand, they should receive an email from Meltwater. And that email would contain all of the content they needed to know about that's happened in the last 24 hours. And again, that's news about the company, news about competitors, industry topics, anything which could impact on their business positively or negatively. So that was how the company started. And that's still a core part of our offering today, is keeping customers updated with that type of content. But where it's really evolved, of course, is it's gone beyond just updating them with content. There's now a lot of ability to analyze that, to get alerts, to publish content, to reach out to journalists. So we've added all of these different modules and capabilities that customers have requested over time. And then the type of content that we actually provide to clients, that's also changed because, as said before, social media has played a huge role in that. And a lot of those 750 million odd documents that we collect, there are about 400 million tweets per day that go into our system. So a lot of social media content that's there. And, in terms of the company's history, it's something that people perhaps don't know, but we're actually very proud of internally. The first 12 years that Meltwater operated, we took $0 of outside investment. So the company grew entirely organically from 0 to 125 million in revenue without a single penny of outside investment. So no PE firms or anything like that were involved. So the fact that we've been able to grow the company, to list the company, all starting from scratch, starting with that bootstrap story coming out of Oslo, is something that all employees are incredibly proud of. And as time moves on, we'll continue to add new capabilities to our customers, but always going back to that key value proposition of helping executives know what's going on and what's impacting their business. And that's what we've done over the last 20 years, and we'll look to continue to do into the future.
So building a company organically the first 10, 12 years is, I think it's a great achievement, but going forward, the competitive landscape is quite tough. You have to move quicker and quicker for every year. So being a listed company today, I think it's the right decision. Anyhow, I like to talk a little bit about the addressable market, your market share, the organic versus the inorganic growth prospects of yours. How big is your addressable market, and what market share can you realistically capture long term? The next 5 to 10 years, and furthermore, I guess as you touched upon in the presentation, the market is growing quite well.
Yes.
But can you update us? Can you give us some rough numbers?
Yeah, for sure. And look, we as you saw on one of the slides, we estimate that the TAM is about $40 billion, and we break that into two areas. One being our more traditional business, what we do today, which is 26, so just over half of that. And then the other segment is areas that we can enter into, areas where we do have customers today, but with a more concerted effort on sales and product, we could do further business in those areas. And, there are listed competitors of ours in the space that actually estimate the TAM to be larger. A couple say 51 billion as an example. And if we look at that first market, really, the one that we serve in public relations, communications, marketing, etc., where the typical use case, if you like, it's really about brand management and competitive intelligence. They would be two key use cases that we serve there. As said, that's about $26 billion. It continues to grow at a double-digit pace today. And the social part of that in particular, that's growing at 20% plus. And inside of social, there are various other elements to that, right? So there's various kind of subsets of that market, one of them being influencer marketing. And one of the reasons as to why we've acquired Clear in that space is because the influencer marketing segment has actually been growing at about 50% over the last few years. And that's something that we want to really capitalize on moving forward. And that really represents a very interesting opportunity because it's one of the newest parts of our business today. So it's one of the areas that we have the fewest customers using that module from Meltwater, but that particular market is growing at a very quick pace, and we see a lot of demand in the market for those type of solutions. So that's the type of market opportunity that we always look to stay on top of, segments that are growing at a good rate, and our particular customers and departments are asking for solutions in that area. Now, if you think about perhaps the adjacent use cases that we spoke about, so that opportunity, which is about $14 billion, again, a lot of what people need there is news content, social media content, looking to understand what's happening around any area of interest. And today, just to give perhaps one example, we have customers that use Meltwater for business development or for sales intelligence. And even our own sales team use it internally. So they're looking for example, appointments of a new VP of communications or a new CMO at a company. And a lot of our customers do use it in a very, very similar way, but we haven't pointed our sales team in that direction. And we haven't necessarily tailored the product to be really well set up for the business development or the sales intelligence use case. So as we continue to invest in the product and R&D, we will do that. We'll create workflows and analytics to support those additional use cases, which will help us to branch into those adjacent opportunities that we spoke to.
Just a follow-up on this topic. So you have a stated strategy concerning consolidation, also market consolidation. In the last few years, you have been busy buying smaller competitors and integrating in a good way. So my question, for how long will you actively seek consolidation opportunities? And I also like to know the competitors you are buying, how big are they in comparison to yourself? Yeah.
Look, there's always a range in terms of the size of these companies. And they've really been typically ranging from about 10 million to about 30 million in revenue historically. That's kind of the size of acquisition that we've been doing. We really want to find companies that we consider to be market tested. So where a company has taken a product to the market, and it's been well received. They've acquired customers and typically would have at least $10 million in ARR. And I think we certainly have the appetite to acquire companies between 10 million, so it's market tested, up to probably around 100 million in annual recurring revenue. I think we certainly have the capacity and the bandwidth to integrate companies of that size. And we will definitely continue to be active when it comes to M&A. There's, of course, a balance, right? We have to ensure that we integrate the companies we've already acquired this year and make the most of those opportunities that we already have. And in terms of what we're really looking for, of course, there's always going to be a bit of a buy versus build consideration that we do. We're looking for companies or technology or products which are out there, which can add a new module to Meltwater to help us with a use case that we don't serve today. And if you look at Clear and Linkfluence in particular, they're very obvious examples of that, with Linkfluence being consumer insight. So yes, they look at social media, but they target a very different buyer to what Meltwater has gone for. And that's why we see that as a very complementary acquisition for us. And likewise with Clear, where it's social based, but it was influencer marketing. And that was a technology that we did not have ourselves, but it's a very natural fit and can be easily integrated into our product suite. So we will continue to look for companies, opportunities that make sense for us financially, but most crucially, that add a really good upsell opportunity and a new module into our product suite and something that customers are requesting from us.
John, superior management and an effective R&D division is of great importance for every company, but especially for those who operate within the technology space like yourself. So my question is, do you have the right people on board? I guess you have, but why are you an attractive employer? Yeah,
good question. And obviously I would certainly like to think that we do have the right people on board today. Our management team, it's been in place for a long time. We have a lot of experience in this industry. Most people on the team have been at the company for more than a decade. And that gives us really good overview, not just of our company, but of our space. And I guess more from a technology standpoint, if you look at our CTO as an example, he's a guy that has worked at companies like Netflix and Yahoo. He was educated at Stanford. And most crucially for us, he has a background in artificial intelligence and data science. So we certainly feel that in the R&D side of the house, that we're in good hands. Now, we aim to be, competitive from a financial standpoint as an employer, which is, of course, important. We believe that there's good upside with our stock. So equity is an important component for employees as well. But we also work in a fast-paced and a dynamic industry and space. Social media, as said before, it's really changed a lot of our lives in a meaningful fashion, and it's reshaping businesses as we speak. So the possibilities that really unlocks, combined with the challenges that we're looking to overcome using something like data science, I think that all adds up to make a very attractive proposition for current and potential employees, particularly from an R&D standpoint.
So I have a couple of topics left for this session. Something about the competitive landscape. For me as an analyst, this is an interesting part of my work. Can you? So are there many large competitors out there, or many small ones? How closely do you monitor your competitors? And my main question in this topic is how do you differ, or do you differ somewhat, both technology-wise and business-wise?
I would actually say we differ on both the technology as well as the business. And yes, the industry that we're in, it's a competitive space because it's a market that's large and it's a market that's growing. So naturally, there are companies that want to be in this industry, right? But it's also very fragmented. And the reason as to why we have opportunities on the M&A side is something that I mentioned before. There have been a lot of companies that have struggled to scale. And that's something that Meltwater has done successfully. And as said, for a long time, that was in a bootstrapped, or we grew entirely or organically, actually. So we have the technology, we have the business model in place to help companies that we can actually acquire scale. And if we think about the competition in our space, important to note a couple of key things around our competitors. Number one, they actually tend to be regional. And if you think about that, kind of the very first slide that I showed was the map with Meltwater and the different dots all over the map and where we have a presence today. We are by far the most global company in our space. Nobody has a footprint like we do. And then if you think about the breadth of services that we offer to our clients, and the fact that we can help customers in the PR department, communications, marketing, social, as well as departments outside of that. If you combine those two factors, that's really how we differentiate, particularly with that segment of the market that we are most interested in, which is the premium customers and those that have the possibility to be global and or have multiple modules. And a lot of our competitors in the space, most of those actually, particularly on the traditional kind of news PR side of the house, they started with manual services as opposed to software. And now they're trying to go the other way and trying to create the software, which is very different for us because we started with software. So from a technology standpoint, it's all we've ever known. So the company has only been a technology company since day one. So that's how we have an edge there, combined with the investments that we've made in AI and data science. And then if you add to that, the business model that we have, which is really a combination of the customer base, the sales organization, as well as the global footprint, and you add that all up, that's why we feel that we're in really good stead from a competitive standpoint today and why we see good traction in our business.
What about the big tech companies like Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft? So yeah. If you were to compete, I'm not sure if this is a great question, but if you were to compete against those companies, would you succeed, do you think?
Well, it's a fair question. And I think for most tech companies, no matter what part of the tech world they're in, they probably face this question, right? With those kind of big 5 to 10 tech companies, what if they were to enter? Well, Google has been in the news space for about 15 years. And of course, when they first launched the Google News and the Google Alerts offering for free, there was a lot of concern inside of Meltwater, I think it's fair to say. But what we actually found was that created interest in the world of online news. So back in the early 2000s, traditional newspapers versus online media was more popular. Google News actually helped to popularize the concept of online news versus traditional media. And that actually helped our business because people were almost using Google News as a free way to enter into this market. If they found a lot of value in it, they would look for paid solutions like Meltwater. So that actually benefited us, I would say. And the 4 companies that you mentioned, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, they're all actually customers of Meltwater in one market or another. And I would anticipate that if they were looking to meaningfully enter this type of space, they would probably use their own tools already as opposed to subscribing to ours. So realistically, I don't believe that it's likely that these companies will be entering the space. Some have tried, actually, not one that you mentioned, but Adobe has tried to enter the space in the past, and they were unable to succeed. And I think in terms of the type of moat that we've built up over the last 20 years, it's really our history, knowledge of the customer, knowledge of the market. Relationships with content providers is really important. The 750 million documents across news and social, that is an important aspect of what we provide. And we've built up those relationships over 2 decades. And then the deep technical understanding in terms of how to extract meaning and insight from that data. I think that provides a really good competitive moat for us.
So short-term triggers. What can you tell to your investors? What type of news can investors expect short-term? Are there any deals, M&A deals in the pipeline?
Yeah, obviously only so much I can say around this particular topic, but as mentioned before, we are constantly in dialogue with companies in our space. So I would say that further M&A is most certainly possible, even expected in the coming months, coming quarters, in the next year or so. Outside of that, I mentioned before that we have our Q2 earnings call at the end of September. So that's another big event that we have coming up as well. They're probably the two that jump to mind in terms of news that could be coming out in the coming weeks and months.
So John, can we some concluding remarks?
Yeah.
In the end, are there anything you would like to add before we conclude this session? For example, what makes Meltwater unique, do you think?
Yeah, maybe just to conclude and almost reconfirm some of the points that perhaps I've already made. I mean, Meltwater as a company, it's been around for more than 20 years now. And our history, and I really want to highlight this point, our history is not only in media intelligence, but we are a software company first and foremost. So today, we deploy that best-in-class technology to help companies, find and analyze and understand the media landscape, both traditional and social. And we will certainly continue to be a global leader in that. But we are really set apart by the technology that we have, the global footprint, and the customer base. So in the future, that same technology can be leveraged to really help us to expand into many of these different buying centers and use cases that we've started to touch upon here. And in the future, we really want to be the go-to name for all things social media, and then leverage those expertise to really help our customers to undertake other tasks, such as analyzing other types of data, but continuing to provide that business insight and that business critical information to them. So it's been a fantastic 20 years for Meltwater. I mean, from our perspective, we are starting almost a new chapter now, or a new journey as a listed company. And that provides us with a good amount of firepower financially to really execute on the various strategies that we've covered, both from an organic as well as an inorganic perspective. So certainly excited to see what the next 20 years hold.
Okay, John, thank you for your time and your insights. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. We keep in touch, hopefully later this year. Goodbye, everyone.